recording of this webinar will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So the webinars that we've held earlier this week, resumes and cover letters and navigating Career Day 2026, that's already been uploaded to YouTube yesterday. And Tuesday's webinar, we had someone asking when that will be. Well, we've done that. It's already been uploaded. So there you go. This one will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube by likely tomorrow. In the meantime, please do keep your mics and your cameras off for now. And what we'll be doing is holding questions at the end of today's webinar. So if you have any questions throughout the webinar, put them in the chat. And if you can just preface it with a capital Q. Oh, you have someone on the call. If you can just go ahead and mute your mics, that would be great. But if you have some questions throughout today's webinar, put them in the chat, preface it with a capital Q so that I can instantly see it when I go into the chat at the end of the webinar today. My name is Chantal, and I am the Manager of Career Services. And on the call with me is Tatiani, our Career Services Officer, who's going to be helping me out with the back of the house kind of stuff. So that's it for now. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, this is, as I said, the third and final webinar in our series. This is leading up to Career Day 2026. You all probably know that by now. I'm interested to see a show of hands, like a thumbs up or something along the lines of that for everyone who's on the call today who has attended all the other webinars in this series. Can I see some thumbs up for students who have attended all of the other webinars? So that's the resume and cover letter webinar on Monday, and the Navigating Career Day 2026 webinar on Tuesday. I don't know if there's thumbs coming up, but I can't see it from my end. So yeah, let me know if you've managed to attend all of those of these webinars. So next week we have the big event, Career Day 2026, happening on the Richmond campus on March 10th, Surrey campus in the Spruce building on March 11th, and both of those days will be from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. Stick around till the end as well. There's a couple things. I'll tell you about the prizes. Now, if you do stay until the end of the webinar, your name will be put into a draw to win a $20 Tim Hortons gift card. And also, if you can stick around to the end, I will have a very short survey for you to complete. This will help me out quite a bit. So, I'm going to say not even 30 seconds for you to complete that survey. So if you could stick around and complete that survey, that would be great. All right, so I'm going to start things off with a territorial acknowledgement. We at Kwantlen Polytechnic University respectfully acknowledge that we live, work, and study in a region that overlaps with the unceded traditional and ancestral First Nations territories of the Musqueam, Katzie, Semiahmoo, Tsawwassen, Kikite, and Coquitlam, and with the lands of the Kwantlen First Nation, which gifted its name to this university. In the cause of reconciliation, we recognize our commitment to address and reduce ongoing systemic colonialism, oppression, and racism that Indigenous peoples continue to experience. All right, so I won't go into this too much because I suspect most of you on the call today probably already know about our services and have probably already seen this slide from my previous presentations, but we are the Career Development Center, and we are the host of Career Day and the host of these webinars. And within the Career Development Services Center, we have career services, volunteer services, cooperative education, and employer relations. So we work very closely with employer relations to put together the hiring fair. It's their role to get out there and connect with employers and bring them to the fair so that they can, have some chats with you. You can visit us online. So this QR code will take you to our main webpage. And please do follow us on our social media platforms because we typically post all of our events and information on our social media platforms. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. So the agenda, I kind of break this webinar up into 3 key categories: before, during, and after. But before I break that up into a bit of a subcategory, what to do like way before the actual interview, So before the interview, like right before it, we're going to talk about the STAR technique. And if you don't know what I'm referencing there, don't worry about it. We're going to get into that in quite a bit of detail. And I do have an example for you. What to do way before the interview in order to help you prepare for any future interviews, how to be memorable after. So if you and I have been having any career coaching appointments or any conversations around strategic job search methods, I always say to you, do what most job seekers are not doing, right? That's how you're going to stand out as a strong candidate. So how to be memorable after. Using the SMART technique, the SMART goal setting technique to stand out. And then we're going to wrap it up, have some questions. Like I said, I'll have the survey at the end of today's webinar as well. Okay, so let's have a little bit of fun here. This is going to take you a little bit of thought, but I want you to type in the chat, what is the worst possible answer to why do you want to work here? So give it some thought. What do you think is the worst possible answer you can give to that question? Because they could very likely ask you that question. Why do you want to work here? So we'll give it I don't know, maybe a minute or so for you to give it some thought. Type it in the chat, and we have Tatiani who's going to be keeping an eye on the chat for me and reading out some of those answers. So let's have a little bit of fun with this. What is
We
the
have
worst
great answers
possible answer?
here.
Okay, yay.
My mom told me to. I
Okay,
need
that's
the
a good one.
money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bored and I have free time
Hey, these are good. These are really good.
because I applied here.
Makes
We have
sense.
a few. I need the money. The only job I can find. I just need a job.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The only place that gave me a call back.
Yeah, that's
I
realistic. That was probably a very real, well, and I need the money. They're all realistic. Yeah.
really good. I have no other choice.
Mm-hmm.
I have no more options.
Okay. Yeah, these are great, but you know what? They're also realistic. They're also very realistic. Yeah, my mom told me I should apply here, or maybe this is a great place that I should work. I need the money. You're the only one that called me back. These are all honest responses, right? But of course, they're not necessarily looking for those kinds of responses. They're looking for that connection between who they are as a company and who you would be as an employee. So that's, of course, what we're going to cover today. But thank you all very much for participating. That gave me a good laugh. I really like those. Okay, let's continue on. Okay, so right before the interview, and this is the first one here, the first point is particularly important to remember, right? What is the purpose of an interview? So if you joined me on Monday for the resume and cover letter webinar, I spoke about what was the purpose of a cover letter, because once you can understand the purpose, and it's not just to hire you, right? And the cover letter is not just to repeat the resume. But once you understand what is the purpose of an interview, then we're in a stronger position to work through our answers, right? So the purpose of an interview, meaning the purpose of each question they ask you, is to help them identify three things. And it's also to help you identify three things. So the first one is skill. Can you do the job? You both should want to know that, right? The second one is want. Do you want the job? Like your motivation. Do you even want to work for that company? So, if we go back to that funny question, what's the worst answer to why do you want to work here? That question is to answer that. Why do you want to work here? Like, what is your motivation, right? So do you want the job? And then the third piece is that fit piece. And I don't want to go into like that cultural fit kind of thing. It's more so around does what the company um, does fit with who you are as a person. For example, I'm going to use MEC, Mountain Equipment Company. I'll use them as an example. Oftentimes they're looking for someone who kind of resonates the company brand, right? So someone who might be athletic or really enjoys the outdoors, who might be familiar with their products, things like that. So the purpose of an interview for you and for them, can you do the job? Do you want to do the job with them? And are you the right fit? And are they the right fit for you? Right? So all of those things combined equal success. So any question that they ask you is really to answer one or more of those three characteristics. Right before the interview, and I would hope that you would have done this part like long before you even applied to this company, but make sure that you do it again and on a deeper level. Dig into the company's values, like what's important to them and their mission. What is it that they do and why? Okay, because they're looking for that connection piece there. That might help the fit piece up in that first point. Make sure you have an outfit that you feel really good in. So before the interview, make sure that outfit is clean. Try it on if you haven't worn it in a while. You know, do a kind of a 360 in the mirror. Make sure that it's clean and pressed and not there's no holes, there's no stains or anything like that, right? But also, more importantly, make sure you feel good in that outfit. Make sure you feel confident. Know where you're going. Are there multiple locations? You know, which one are you going to? And then the little tangible items that can sometimes, you know, make us late. Is there parking? What's the bus route like to get there? Do you have money on your Compass card? Chances are you do. You probably have a monthly pass. Do you have change for the meter? Do you have the meter app? You know, all of these things can kind of set you back a little bit. And even if it does get you there just on time, it might make you feel a little flustered. So know where you're going, know about, you know, the logistics of you know, the parking and all of that kind of stuff. And then, of course, practice. So practice in the mirror, practice with a friend, practice with a career coach. The important thing is to practice saying your responses out loud. Okay, because chances are you probably write down your answers, but you really do want to make sure that you're saying them out loud, that you're using terminology, words that work for you, that are easy to say, right? All of these things. So practice. Now, yeah, by now, you know, we've all been doing things online. Hello, we're doing that today. We've all been doing things online for quite a while now. But I like to keep this slide in here because as a career coach, I do meet with students, of course, to have a mock interview, and sometimes we do them in person, sometimes we'll do them virtually. It really depends on what the actual mode of the interview they have coming up is. So if it's online, then I definitely recommend we meet online. And I always make sure to let students know, okay, so I want you to come to the interview dressed like you, or to the mock interview rather, dressed like you might be dressed for in a real interview. I want you to prepare as much as you can, but that does include your background. And being in a quiet space with few distractions where the lighting is okay. So I do look for all of those things. And so does an employer. If there's distracting noises and you're constantly looking away, or you're having to adjust something, or your background is a little bit messy or whatever it might be. So, you know, these are important characteristics. And if you don't have the option of having a quiet space at home, you know, you can certainly look at booking spaces at KPU to have some private time during that interview. So maybe consider doing that as well. So other considerations, right? So that background and the resting face. So a lot of the times in a job interview, the employer is going to be doing a lot of the talking. There might be a panel and they're going to be doing a lot of talking about the company. This is who we are and how great we are, and this is what the role is. And you'll be sitting there and you'll be listening. Pay attention to your face. Like what kind of message is your face sending? Right? That body language piece is crucial. Okay, so while you're waiting, now if you are doing a virtual meeting, I would recommend that you make sure you have everything set and ready to go but don't join the virtual meeting until I would say maybe 2 minutes before the actual meeting. Because sometimes they might meet ahead of time online to have a bit of a discussion leading up to the interview. So maybe don't click join until about 2 minutes to 1 minute before the actual meeting. But in person, certainly, think about arriving 5 to 10 minutes early. I wouldn't say anything earlier than 10 minutes. You might make them feel the need to rush and to meet up with you. So about 5 to 10 minutes early is usually pretty sufficient. Make sure your phone is on mute and put away, and maybe consider reviewing your notes. Like bring a notebook with with a few notes in there, and maybe sit there and review your notes and pay attention to what's going on around you. That could be quite telling. Do people seem happy being there? All of that kind of stuff. So, make sure to greet everyone with a smile as well. Okay, so during the meeting, taking very short notes occasionally during the meeting, I think this could be quite important for you because, chances are you're going to feel nervous, and that's totally normal. So when they ask you a question, it might be a good idea for you to jot down a word or two to remind you of the question, to keep you on track, and to keep glancing at it every once in a while. So take very short notes, again, very short notes occasionally during the meeting. You could also, if there's no business cards, you could also take this opportunity at the beginning to jot their full name and titles down in your notebook. And then bring a pen as well. I'd recommend that you bring a pen that doesn't click necessarily. Sometimes when we're nervous, we might be doing those nervous little glitches of clicking our pens. So maybe avoid bringing one of those clicking pens. Be prepared for a handshake. It's pretty customary in Canada, in North America, for people to approach you with their hand out. Now, of course, in some cases, they might not necessarily do that for whatever reason. It might just not be their way to greet, but it might also be for religious reasons. And from your end, you might not necessarily be comfortable shaking somebody's hand for religious reasons. And if that's the case, simply say, I do not shake hands, but I'm so happy to meet you. Give them a smile, give them eye contact, and that's all you need to say about that. You don't need to apologize. Just simply say, if you'd like to disclose that it's for religious reasons, you can't shake their hand, but you're very happy to be there. Feel free to put a hand over your heart, anything like that. But for the most part, if you're comfortable doing that, prepare for a handshake. So if we were in person at this point, I'd be like, okay, everybody get up, let's shake some hands. This is an important customary introduction. So, web to web, palm to palm, and a nice firm handshake, not a hard one, but a nice firm handshake demonstrates confidence. In some cases, there might be a fist bump, there might be an elbow bump, or perhaps nothing at all. They might just simply motion for you to sit in a chair. Breathe and relax. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Again, if anyone has any questions, please go ahead and put your question in the chat. Preface it with a capital Q so that I can easily see it when I hop to those at the end of the webinar today. Alternatively, you don't have to type it in the chat. You can simply unmute yourself and ask the question that way, and feel free to turn your camera on as well, whatever works for you. So body language.
I have a question.
Sure. Yeah. Are you able to hold on to that question until the end, Sunita? We're going to hold on to questions till the end. Yeah. But it's great to see you here. Yeah. Thanks for coming, Sunita.
No worries.
All right. Yeah. So we'll just keep questions till the end. Of course, if it's something super pressing, hey, let's feel free to go ahead and ask that. But for the most part, let's keep the questions to the end. Talking about body language. Now, this person here looks bored, completely disinterested, and there's a few things that we're seeing. I mean, they look like they're about to fall asleep, first of all, and the hand is on the face. So relatively speaking, we would like to mirror the energy and the body language of the people or person that's interviewing us, right? So if they're particularly straight and formal, then we might want to follow suit and also be particularly straight and formal. If they're a little bit more on the casual side, which is a little bit more customary, I would say, in and around Vancouver, or a little bit more relaxed, then follow their lead. Be a little bit more relaxed with maybe, a step up in terms of professionalism. Keeping arms uncrossed away from the face wherever possible. And to help you do that, hold on to your pen. That might help, right? So you have your pen and you have your pad in front of you, and that might help. Maintain eye contact. That's particularly crucial. So when we're having a virtual meeting like this, a virtual interview, keep a little reminder for yourself to look directly at the camera. Now, while they're talking, you might be looking down at your screen because you're looking at their facial expression. But when you're answering the question, always come back up to the webcam and look directly into the webcam, and help you with that. Maybe put a little sticky beside it with a little smiley face, and that'll kind of prompt you every once in a while to make sure that you're maintaining eye contact during a virtual meeting. But maintaining eye contact is particularly important. Of course, we would look away when we're thinking, like kind of processing the question and thinking about our answer, lining up all of our response, we're thinking, and then we might come back to eye contact when we're answering the question. Again, these are all things that you can practice ahead of time in a mock interview, right? Nod and smile, lean in, right? A lot of the time they're going to be doing the talking. They might crack a few jokes. So make sure that your body language demonstrates that. And again, really kind of mirrors or matches the level of their body language, right? So lean in, head tilted, smiling, maintaining eye contact. It shows that you're present. Keep pen in hand. That'll help us out. Okay, so answering the questions. Now, I'm gonna cover a couple of questions during the webinar today that are very likely to be asked. The first question is the standard, so tell us a little bit about yourself. It's not really a question, but you know what I mean. And then the second one is a behavioral style question. So tell me about a time when, or even have you ever had a situation where? That's kind of a hidden behavioral style question. So I'm going to cover those two. So more generic, more general, tell me about yourself, and then a behavioral style. Either way, when you're answering any interview question rather, don't feel the need to immediately respond, right? Thinking in your head, well, if I immediately respond, then they know that I am confident and I know how to answer that question. In fact, it's best to take a pause. And that's, again, where this the pad and the pen might come in handy, because you can kind of write down a few thoughts. So they give you the question, listen to the question, think about what it is they're asking about: motivation, skill, fit, right? You can even write that at the top of your in your pad. Listen to the question, think about what they're asking for, collect your thoughts, and then answer. So at this point, you might look away, you're thinking, and then you come back. And you saw how long that took me. It's okay to take seconds, 5, 10 seconds, depending on the question. It could even be more, to think about what it is they're asking, collect your thoughts, and then answer. Wherever possible, support that answer with actual examples, proof, right, that what you're saying is actually true. And if it's a behavioral style or even situational type of question, we'll get into that, we use the STAR technique. So let's look at the opening. Typically, employers will start off with, well, thanks for coming. They might do a little bit of small talk. Oh, how was the drive-in? Oh, it's treacherous, that bridge, right? They'll say things like that. So the small talk is important, but they will typically open up the interview with, tell me a little bit about yourself. And I do see, this one's a tough one because oftentimes people will over-explain and provide way too much information or not enough information at all. So I've come up with this acronym. The acronym itself doesn't, I got to come up with something better, WEPI. But work, education, personal, and why, right? The why of this job. So work, a brief summary of your work and volunteer experience. So the specific skills that you developed in that and the skills that you're maybe hoping to continue building on. Education. So not just listing the education because they know that already from your resume, but why that program? Like, what were some key areas of interest for you during your time studying, right? And then something personal. It doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be really too personal, but what matters to you? Maybe a fun fact. Demonstrate enthusiasm for them. So this is kind of like the interest section of a resume, except expanded a little bit more. And then you're wrapping it up with why this company, why this job. Let's see this in action. Okay, so putting it all together, tell us a little bit about yourself. Great. Yeah, I'm a third-year Bachelor of Business Administration student majoring in marketing. I was drawn to marketing because I enjoy the mix of creativity and strategy involved in understanding what drives people's decisions. In terms of experience, I also work part-time in a busy coffee shop. That's where I get to interact with a wide range of customers and work with a really great team. This experience helped me strengthen my communication, problem solving, and teamwork skills. I really value community involvement, so I volunteer at campus events and love helping first-year students feel more connected. A fun fact about me is that I've been learning photography, which actually helps me think more visually when working on marketing projects. I'm excited to be here since this role combines my interest in creative problem solving with brand communication. All right. Now remember, this webinar will be recorded, so you will be able to see this anytime as many times as you'd like, right? But you can always revisit this particular slide. All right, so STAR. I'm sure a lot of you know about STAR. You know about the acronym STAR and what each of the steps mean, but the primary challenge is having actual examples to use for STAR, right? So first, let's talk a little bit about what STAR stands for those of you that might not know. So STAR is used, it's a format to use when answering behavioral style questions, right? So tell us about a time when. Typically, that's how that question might start. So you start with a situation. So you briefly describe the situation, the who, what, where, when I was working at ABC in this particular position. The task, explain the task you were working on or the particular challenge you were facing. I needed to develop a particular brand for whatever. The action, this is all about you. So this action piece is probably, should be anyways, the longest part of your response because this is your opportunity to shine. These are the actions that you took, not your team. So we want to hear some I pronouns in that answer, right? I did this, I did that. Which I know goes against, maybe some of the ways we might think about effective communication. But in this case, yes, we want to hear about you. You can tell us a little bit about the team if it was a team example, but really this action piece, this is your opportunity to shine. What did you do, not the team? So the actions that you took to alleviate the challenge or conflict, reduce the task time, decrease cost, increase customers, etc. And you want to also include the skills that you used and the steps that you took. And then the result. Now, in some cases, the result is not always what we had hoped for, and that's okay. I would still recommend if you think that you have a really good example, especially the A part, the action piece, is super strong, use it. Then add another R for reflection. What did you learn from the results that occurred from that particular situation, right? What would you do differently next time? So it might be STAR, so STARR. So that second R might be reflection. And that will really take your response up quite a bit. So yeah, so you might say, that's great, Chantel, but I don't have any examples. I don't have any work experience. I don't even know how I'm going to pull, some examples for you. So this is where we talk about what to do way before the actual interview. And I suspect many of you on the call today are probably doing a few of the things that I'm just about to talk about. So it is thrifty to prepare today for the wants of tomorrow. So prepare having some great stories today for that job interview that you're going to knock out of the park tomorrow or next week or next month, right? So long before the interview, where can we gain some star stories? Through volunteerism. And for those of you that were on the call on Tuesday, I spoke quite a bit about the importance of volunteerism. And it does, apart from, skill development, look great on a resume, make us feel good, connect us to the community. It does provide us with some really great star examples. Right? So volunteerism, experiential projects, right? And I actually have an example that's specific to that, to experiential projects. Portfolio, be an engaged student, right? This will give you some examples, some good star stories, and then interviewing well by converting all these stories into strong star stories for the interview. So it's all about controlling your narrative now, right? By taking some of these actions now, that will turn into some really great star stories later on. Okay, so volunteerism, Deloitte study, 82% of hiring managers indicate that they prefer candidates with volunteer experience on their resume, with 85% willing to overlook resume shortcomings. So I want to touch a little bit on volunteering. When I say volunteering, I mean a longer commitment. And I did address the fact that for some of us, that could be really tough, right? We might work part-time while we're studying full-time. Some people might even hold more than one job while they're studying full-time. So I see you. If you really kind of break down your schedule, have a look. Is there a realistic way for you to incorporate volunteerism into your schedule on a regular basis? So volunteering for individual events on campus is a fantastic way to feel more engaged as a student, to meet people, to gain an understanding for other departments at KPU. But for long term, this is where the real skill development will come in. And this is where the really strong stories will come in, right? Is a regular ongoing commitment. So take a look at your schedules. Is there a way for you to insert some time into your week, your month even? Like maybe it's once a month that you're volunteering, but again, on a regular basis. I suspect you can probably find a little bit of time there. Experiential projects, so taking it outside the classroom. You're learning some really great stuff at KPU, right? And there's a lot of really great work integrated learning. I'm going to have to do this next time, actually, because there's a really great link, and perhaps some of you already know about this, but there's a really great link about work integrated learning at KPU. It just beautifully ties together ways that students in various programs can actually take those skills outside the classroom into the community and help businesses and so forth. So IT, right? Develop or redesign a website for a local small business. Marketing, take on a social media for a nonprofit. Accounting, offer to get a new small business up and running on a new accounting software. Maybe there's some other ideas. Feel free to, if you've been doing any of these things or whatnot, feel free to just enter it into the chat. Tell us what you've been doing in terms of taking your skills outside the classroom into the community. Portfolios. So I'm thinking PebblePad, I'm thinking LinkedIn here. Of course, there's tons of online portfolios available out there. It's an excellent way to keep track of your accomplishments and connect your assignments with real life skills, right? Be creative with it, include imagery whenever possible, personalize it, and make sure that you're reflecting on your learnings there. So that that reflection piece, going back to STAR, is particularly important. So always kind of reflect on those learnings and how that can translate into a real world scenario. Make sure to add your credentials as you go. Be an engaged student. This is crucial, I think, for students to be engaged while they're here. It goes way beyond the diploma or certificate or degree that you're obtaining. What did you do while you were at KPU? What did you do while you were a student? There's some really great stories to be had there, and oftentimes that's what the employers want to hear about. Like they know more or less what a degree in human resources was made up of, but they want to know, what were you like when you were attending KPU to obtain that degree? So join a club. And if there isn't a club that you want to join that, you know, fulfills what it is you want to do, you could start your own, right? So reach out to the KSA and figure out how to get that done. Participate in events, volunteer at events, participate, go to them. So one great way to keep an eye on all the events that are happening is to follow all the different departments at KPU, particularly the department that you're in. Of course, the Career Development Center, you got to follow us on social media. You know, Future Students Office, orientation, international, follow them on social media so you can learn about all the great activities that you can participate on. Of course, sports and rec, all of them, you get it. Attend office hours, like chat with your instructors. Have conversations with your instructors. Oftentimes, students think that those office hours are to only discuss class-related content like assignments or tests, and that's not the case. Sometimes it could be about having, you know, some career conversations, and you know, if you let people know what your plans are, oftentimes they just kind of want to help you, you know, fulfill those goals. If people know how they can help you and they can, they usually will. So attend those instructor office hours, right? Relationship building could lead to referrals. And as we know, referrals are very, very good. All right. So giving yourself something to talk about in the interview, owning your narrative, right? Developing those STAR stories now to help you out later. And I don't have the slide on this particular webinar, but I do have an example of keeping track of all these STAR stories, right? So it's kind of put together a table, have different categories of STAR stories, you know, personal, volunteer related, school related, work related, and then break them up into each item within the STAR. So the situation, it's related to work, the situation, the task, the action, and the result, and the reflection piece as well. So think about it that way. Keep track of it. All right, so interview well. Now that leads us back to STAR. But before we get into that, I want to ask you, so you'll need to type this into the chat. What do you do if you don't know how to immediately answer a question? What do you do? This has happened to all of us during an interview. So what do you do if you don't know how to immediately answer a question? Give it some thought. Type it in the chat. Let's hear what you have to say.
Take 10-15 seconds to process and think. Say that you need a minute to think. Or ask, can I come back to this question? I would appreciate some time to think about.
Right?
Give a couple of seconds to think about the skills, motivation, and fit. Pause to think about it for a moment. Ask them to repeat the question for more thinking time.
These are all excellent. hey, you're here, you're present, you're hearing the webinar. Absolutely. I would agree with everything you just said on the call. Yeah, take time to think, right? Collect the information. What are they asking for? What are the skills, right? Write down maybe a note or two to remind you of what it is. Give it some thought. Could take up to 30 seconds. And you could say to them, that's a good one. Let me think about that for a few seconds. You could also say, like someone on the call, can we come back to that? Absolutely. Can you repeat that question? I give you a little bit more time, but take time. The whole focus here is time. Time is okay to take when answering the question. Breathe. Think about it. Collect your thoughts. Jot down a word or two, and then come back to it. It also comes across as way more authentic if you give yourself time to think about your response. Even if you know the answer, you're like, yes, I got this, I was preparing for it, still take time. At least 7 seconds, 7 seconds, give it some thought, collect your thought, and then come back to it. Great responses. A+ all around. Okay, so answer the question first to build suspense. So do you have any social media experience? Now, this actually connects back to the previous slide when I was talking about some strategies you can use now in order to develop some strong star stories for later on. This one has to do with experiential projects. So taking your class, the skills that you've developed through your education at KPU out into the community. So here kind of combines both. Do you have any social media experience? So answer the question first. Yes, I do, right? So you're going to give it some thought, think about it, collect your thoughts, come back. Yes, I do have social media experience, and then go right into your response. Okay, so you can see this is broken up into situation, task, action, and result. While taking my 300 level marketing class, I thought it would be a good idea to apply some of the great skills I was learning in a place where it would have a positive impact. I really love animals, so I thought I would start there. I took some time to review the social media presence of a few local animal rescue societies and noticed one that seemed to be struggling quite a bit. It was called Hounds and Homes. I reached out to them with a proposal. During our initial meeting, I sat with them to determine their goals as an organization. They really had two: raise more money and get more animals adopted. From there, I was able to work with them to determine their social media goals, which then helped me to establish a social media strategy, raise awareness. Analyzing the metrics helped me to determine strategies which included following, commenting on, and sharing content from popular influencers. We also opened a TikTok account and made the animals our stars. Within the first 3 months, which was the timeline we had agreed on, I had developed a spreadsheet to track the analytics, allowing them to easily see which platform had the most traction and which post type garnered the most engagement. They were thrilled with the campaign and with the ease of taking it over, and the overall engagement was up by over 300%. So here's an example of an experiential project where you are taking complete control. It has nothing to do with co-op or any other structured work integrated learning program. You are taking control, identifying where can you take the great skills that you're learning. So this is an example of that. Okay, after the interview, it's time to analyze, like what went well, what's an area that you need to work on? Did you completely fumble answers around certain questions? Write those questions down, because this is where the gap is, and this is where what we might need to work on, right? So what's your overall impression? What are some areas that you need to improve, strong points? Did you ask about next steps and follow up, right? That's always a great question to ask. What are the next steps? Will there be a second interview? When should I expect to hear back? And then we want to send them a thank you, right? Typically, I would say anywhere between 2 to 24 hours after the meeting. I would not send it to them prior to the 2 hours because you want to take some time to think about what you want to include in this letter. You want it to be authentic. An email is fine, by the way. It doesn't have to be actually mailed to them, but an email is totally fine. So that's why it's pretty important to get the email contact and so forth of the people that are interviewing you. What would be included in a thank you email? Again, we want to keep it brief and concise. So thank them for the meeting, reiterate your interest, maybe mention something specific from that conversation, and then let them know that you've paid attention and that you know that the next steps are this and this. And, you know, you might expect to hear back from them by a certain date. Okay, so next up, it's all about kind of keeping yourself structured and organized during an interview. So your goal might be to improve your interview skills so that you can get a job, but there's really no structure to that. So we want to call on the SMART goal setting technique, right? And that's where we want to develop a goal that's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So instead of, you know, I got to practice my interview skills, let's make sure it has some characteristics that will keep us accountable. Right? So now we have a SMART goal. So to reduce my interview anxiety for the next 5 days, or however many days you'd like, I will record myself answering 2 interview questions per day using the STAR technique. I will then review and critique them. And this can all lead up to a mock interview appointment where you will then practice. Right? So make sure that you give yourself a tangible SMART goal that you can work on in order to improve your interview skills. Now, I recommend that you start, and you don't have to do this right now, but you start by using the STAR method to identify an accomplishment, something that you're particularly proud of. So start off with your STAR, maybe the second R for reflection. And think about something that you achieved that you're particularly proud of. This can be anything, school-related, work-related, a personal achievement that you're proud of. This will kind of get you started with the process of thinking STAR, thinking like a star. And then just like with the previous webinars, I have here the Career Connection resource for the toolkit. So we have 4 primary toolkits in Career Connection in the resource library. This QR code will take you to the toolkit that was designed all about interviews. So feel free to scan that QR code if you'd like. And then I just want to talk very briefly about prizes. So for those of you that stuck around throughout the entire webinar, congratulations, yay. So your name will be put into a draw to win a Tim Hortons gift card. And then we have prizes for Career Day itself. So when you come to Career Day, someone's going to hand you a stamp card. Take the stamp card. This will allow you to walk around, speak with employers. Every time you talk to an employer, they're going to stamp the card. For every 5 stamps you get your name put in the draw to win a gift card of, you know, from either Guildford or a Tim Hortons. And, you know, you can have your name potentially put into the draw multiple times. Finally, this is the survey. So this QR code here will take you to the survey. Honestly, fewer than 30, I'd say not even 30 seconds. You know, your feedback is really valuable to me, so I do appreciate that. And now what I'd like to do is open it up for questions. And if you want to enter it into the chat, please go ahead and do that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen though. There we go. And yeah, so if there's any questions, I'm just going to open up the chat. Okay. Okay, here we go. Oh, here. Okay, I'm going through all these responses to why do you want to work here? Because I need the money. Fair enough. Only job I can find. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. Oh, okay, Sunita. Yeah. So your question was, do you initiate a handshake? Sure, you can. You can absolutely initiate a handshake if you're comfortable doing so. Typically, they will though. So, it's completely up to you if you're comfortable doing that. But when you walk into a room, if you want to go ahead and put your hand out for a handshake, by all means do that. And if they don't do handshakes, they will tell you, right? But sometimes as you're walking in, they might approach you. So who initiates it? I would say for the most part, it's not that formal to just assume that the employer might do that. Feel free to initiate that handshake. Absolutely. Oh yeah, good. Thanks, Tatiani. So Tatiani put that in there about the hands-on, work integrated learning website. It's so well done. So if you haven't seen that website, Tatiani put that in the link. Have a look. It's pretty cool. Okay, good. Okay, and so Aisha, I think we might have heard from you in a previous webinar, so thanks for coming back. If the interviewer asks us what our schedule is like and if we are flexible for work hours, what can we say as students, given that we are taking classes and not exactly free every day? Yeah, no, that's fine, right? They know they've shortlisted you. They can see that you're probably a current student. So they know that you're going to have a different kind of schedule, but they will probably really value the fact that you're only available on the weekends and only available in the evenings and maybe on some days. So yeah, so let them know which days. And then you can even say to them, that was a lot of information. If you'd like, I can send you an email with a detailed list of my availability. But I tell you, they will be thankful that you have flexible availability and that you're available, on the weekends and so forth. So, all right. I'm not seeing any other questions, but hopefully those questions that were asked, hopefully I answered those questions well. Yeah, interview prep available if you want to send an email to careers at kpu.ca and then or look on Advisor Connect. Right now, for coaching appointments, they are pretty tight leading up to Career Day, high demand. And so you normally, when you go on Advisor Connect, you can see appointments up to 2 weeks in advance, and those are all booked. So if you reach out to careers at kpu.ca with some days and times that you might be available, that would be really helpful. And then we can, hopefully kind of squeeze you in there. Yeah. Yeah, and so thank you, Tatiani, for putting that link in there. The students might not necessarily see any appointments on Advisor Connect right now because for the next 2 weeks they are full. But yeah, if you want to just send an email, letting us know the days and times, that would be great. Great. Any other questions for today before we finish things off? I'm still here for another few minutes if anyone has any questions that they want to ask. Either type it in the chat or, go ahead and unmute yourself. Will the slides or the recording be available? Absolutely. So a recording of all of our webinars from this week are, well, the two that we did on one on Monday, one on Tuesday, that's already up on our YouTube channel. And today's webinar will be uploaded hopefully by tomorrow, by end of day tomorrow. But yeah, you can just visit us on our YouTube channel. Tatiani put the link in there. For all the webinars that we've hosted in the past little while, they're on YouTube. So yeah. Thanks for coming, everyone. I really appreciate your time, and I really am happy to see you coming to today's webinar and the previous webinars to really help you prepare in advance of Career Day. I really look forward to seeing you all there. And yeah, the day of Career Day, come by, say hi. If you see me roaming around, I'd love to meet you. Thank you all very much.